Last week, I told you that we'd be getting into the combined retention bonus structure, how both sides of the agency hitting their retention targets in the same month triggers a combined payout that doubles the individual bonuses. And I'm going to get to that, but something more urgent came up this week. And honestly, it's the thing that makes every system we've built irrelevant if we don't address it. We built the systems. We documented everything. We signed the bonus addendums. We set up the accountability loops. We had assigned phone days, inbox captains, role lanes, and then I watched them quietly stop working. This is really happening. Not all at once, not dramatically. There was no rebellion within my agency, just gradually, the way weeds grow back after you clear a garden. Procedural drift is what happens when a process that was working slowly stops being followed. Not because anyone decided to stop following it, not because it stopped making sense, just because things got hairy, things got busy. There was no accountability loop keeping it in place, and the path of least resistance was doing things the old way. Here's what it looks like in practice. We had assigned days where certain staff answered phones so others can get caught up on servicing. That structure started slipping. Everyone was back to answering everything the way that they always had before. We had an inbox captain, one person responsible for the shared inbox on a given day. That started slipping too. Everyone checked the inbox when they felt like it. You just willy-nilly, nobody owning it consistently. These are exactly the patterns that stopped us the last time we tried to make changes. Not a dramatic failure, just a slow migration back to what was comfortable, what was known. And here's how I caught it, and I want to be direct about this. The drift is my fault. Not because I told my staff to stop following the procedures, the processes, but because I got pulled into building something new, setting up KPI tracking with Rebecca, and while my attention was there, the structure I'd built quietly lost their enforcement. It's like spinning plates. You got to keep going back and forth. My staff will only be as serious about change as I am, and when the owner's focus moves, the structure moves with it. The signal I couldn't ignore, sales dropped. We're in the middle of summer travel season, so staff are out of town, and I'm out of town a lot, scheduling disrupted, but that only explains part of it. When I looked honestly at what was happening, the accountability structure had drifted. Roles were blurring again. The income engine started stalling while we were focused on fixing other parts of the car. And it's like whack-a-mole. You get over here, you fix one thing, something else pops up. And that's the thing about drift. You don't feel it happening. You feel it when the numbers move. I want to talk about why this happens because I don't think it's a willpower problem or a team quality problem. I think it's a design problem. Most business owners, myself included, think of systems as something that you build once. You document the process, you communicate the expectations, you build the structure, and then you move on to the next problem. But that's not how it works. A system without ongoing enforcement is just a document. Your staff knows what the SOP says. They also know whether you're checking. And when you get busy and you don't check, things drift. When you build a process and then move your attention elsewhere, you haven't freed your team to follow the system. You've freed them from having to follow that system. That's not a criticism of your team. That's just how humans work. We follow the path of least resistance when nobody's watching, including me. So here's what actually stops procedural drift. And it's not more documentation. It's not a better SOP. It's maintenance discipline. Think about a garden. You didn't fight weeds once. You pull them when they're small. You walk the garden regularly. You notice when something's growing back before it takes over. The maintenance is not a one-time project. It's an ongoing practice. Procedures work the same way. If you're not walking the garden, if you're not regularly checking whether the structure is still being followed, it will drift back. Not because anyone wants it to, because entropy is the default state of every system that isn't being maintained. The specific maintenance practices that matter Regular check-ins where you're actually looking at whether the process is being followed, not just whether results are happening, whether the process is being followed. A recovery mechanism when someone drifts back, not punishment, a correction. Pull the weeds when it's small, and training that doesn't stop even if someone's out of town that week, even if the beginning of summer is here, like right now. Especially then, because the moment you make an exception for circumstances, you've told the team that the structure is conditional. So what we are doing about this right now, and I'm about to tell you, because this isn't a retrospective event. This is happening live, which is why I'm talking about it. We're going back in, not to rebuild the system. The system is still good. We're reinforcing the maintenance layers. We're bringing sales back into the focus because the income engine has to keep running while we're rebuilding everything else. You can't fix the brakes and the steering wheel if the car has stopped moving. We're putting the accountability check-ins back in the calendar. We're reestablishing who owns what on which day. We're making the structure non-negotiable again, not aspirational. And I'm being honest about why it drifted, because that's the only way to actually fix it. The drift happens because my attention moved. The fix is putting my attention back, not permanently, but consistently enough that the team knows the structure is still real. Next week, I'm going to get into the combined retention bonuses that I teased 2 weeks ago. That episode builds directly into what we've been covering about accountability and role clarity. Subscribe and turn on notifications because every video in this series connects to the last one. The weeds always grow back. Building the habit of pulling them early is how you win.